So we got so much to talk about. I know you got a busy schedule, so I'm glad that you were able to find time to talk today. All right, first and
My pleasure.
foremost, Fat Joe versus the FBA. You know, he called the FBA a bunch of broke N-words and said that they were radical racists. And this comes from, Fat Joe's been saying for the longest time that hip hop was created by blacks and Puerto Ricans 50-50. The FBA has been pushing back on that, saying that no, this is created and found by foundational black Americans, and Puerto Ricans and other Latinos have contributed along the way, but they were not the inventors, right? So that's the reason why Fat Joe is upset. What did you think about that?
I mean, like I had this conversation with Ralph McDaniels back in like 2017, and from people that were around at the time, it's really hard to pinpoint and tell who exactly made up hip hop, because was not created by one person. It's
right.
It's a whole energy that takes place that people start to contribute to. It's a pot, and they put there, and then next thing you know, it becomes an organization, and people start to, group themselves into this thing, and that's how it begins to grow. So, when I sat there with Ralph McDaniels' Video Music Box, he agreed that it was a combination of, multi different people, putting in their 2 cents. He was like, when they were doing what they was doing in the Bronx, Joe Bataan was taking kids into the studio in Spanish Harlem and having them rap on top of Latin soul. This is actually why I call hip hop the bastard child of Latin music, because sonically, what they were hearing in the streets of New York City at the time came from that Latin music. Boogaloo was the combination, the fusion of R&B and soul and Latin rhythms coming together. And this is where I believe hip hop stemmed from. The problem with Boogaloo is that genre was pretty much deaded, because the guys at Fania, when all these Boogaloo bands, these young kids were starting to take gigs, they would take gigs for cheaper than the other salsa bands. So they started to kind of screw up the market. The guys at Fania got jealous, started blacklisting the bands, and the genre just kind of died out. And then from there, that was the late 60s, right? Then from there, and it had lived its time during the 70s. Then from there, hip hop literally is the rising of the ashes from that. And early hip hop, you hear a lot of percussion in there. You hear, certain rhythms, certain sounds, and it's just a melting pot.
Because what people are saying is like these elements existed prior to, how they say that hip hop was created in 1973. Like that's really more of like the unification of the elements, right? Like people are saying that this, all these elements had existed previously, breakdancing, graffiti, but it wasn't until that time that they really called it.
We're talking for hundreds, maybe thousands of years that they've existed. So everybody wants to be the originator and the creator of something. You know what I mean? But we're all just influenced by something greater.
So are you saying that you agree with Fat Joe that it was 50-50? Or you're just saying you're not sure?
I mean, I'm not gonna put out any numbers. I know. And from the conversations that I've had from just studying the history of the music, from studying Latin music into hip hop, from mambo to hip hop, if you study all of that, you hear the sounds, you're musically in tune, you know what's going on, the history of what was happening in the streets of New York City at that time as well. You study that history, and then also coupled with, my personal interaction with pioneers in hip hop. So I'm not going to say it's 50-50. I'm not going to put out numbers like that. That's, pretty audacious to say that, but it was a melting pot of people coming in. And I would say there were even Jews and Italians in there too.
Okay. And then what did you think about how Joe approached the situation and the way that he said it?
What I want to know is who is letting this guy, what Illuminati master is letting this guy talk about this stuff right now? Because that's not the agenda of the country. You know what I mean? So I'm like, why is he even talking about this right now? Because we know that right now in America that, it's black supremacists. So he might get a spanking for saying what he's saying.
Wait. Okay. What do you mean by black supremacists?
I told you in one episode of yours, I said when I sat with Cootie, I was at Soho House with Cootie, right? It was that time when Kanye was on TMZ, when he was saying, well, 400 years sounds like a choice, 400 years of slavery, right? And everybody misquoted him and said, oh, Kanye said 400 years of slavery is a choice. No, he said it sounds like a choice. And I sat and I was talking with Cootie, the man who had been his friend, been filming him for years. And he was like, I was like, well, this is what's going on. I'm like, they're bashing Kanye because he is bringing a message of unity. That's what he was speaking at the moment. You know what I mean? And I could, even in that one little compartment, aside from all his other issues, that one compartment of what he said. And then Cootie was like, well, Kanye is crazy. And I got so defensive. I was like, Kanye is not crazy. Because especially at the time, I can't speak for Kanye right now, but at the time he was coming out with a lot of truth. And I was understanding with what I was understanding what he was saying, and I was resonating with what he was saying. So Cootie and I was seeing the temperature of where we were going in America, right? This was 2018. Next thing you know, Black Lives Matter and COVID hits, right? Before Black Lives Matter, I wasn't hated on by Black people. Maybe secretly, but after Black Lives Matter, all of a sudden, I became a Karen when talking about rap music that talks about murdering Black people.
When you say supremacy though, right? Do you think that Black people have just reached the point where they're tired of dealing with the things that they've been dealing with?
No, it's an agenda. You know why? No, it's an agenda. I'll tell you why. Beyonce's Black is King. This whole Black agenda, and I'm just watching commercials and it's like, pills for, like vitamins for Black women, what about vitamins for all women? You know what I mean? I get we all have different hair textures. But really at the core, we're all the same. We all have vaginas. We all have titties. We all, you know what I mean? We're women. So why are we being now segregated like this? And this is what I'm saying is this agenda it's been planted years, decades. You know what I mean? Like it's since World War II. People don't realize that the Nazi agenda was meant for right now. What's happening right now is 440 Nazi hertz frequency programming. You know? So
are you saying that this agenda is by Black people, or are you saying they're by white people that is pushing it?
Listen, it's not by Black nor whites. It's by groups of people that want power and control, Black and white, all colors. Literally today, I was just having a conversation and I was doing makeup and I was talking about, because now everybody wants to hear what I have to say now that truth is coming out. Before I was a crazy girl, but now they're like, well, what about this? What about that? I started talking about the boule. I said the boule, because talking about Beyonce. Beyonce is actually a descendant of the British royal family. Right? People don't know that. She also has, her mother comes from Louisiana, and those ties tie to King Louis XIV, France, and then Britain, right? But they breed their people a certain way, right? I'm not saying it was spearheaded by whites nor spearheaded by Blacks. I'm saying it was spearheaded by both, because both agree. So the boule is a sect of Freemasonry with mixed people, Black and white people that that were heavy in Louisiana, right? That came from this bloodline, and they had been purposefully planted within governments, within communities, within Hollywood, within all places of America, so that we are now having this racial divide thing going on. Because if we go back, slavery is not even about race. Okay, slavery is about money. What a lot of people fail to realize was that slavery existed on the planet like normal thousands of years ago, okay? We had Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery. So people who want to claim to be a part of the 12 tribes of Judah and all that, and they want to go heavy on that, guess what? His own Hebrew brothers sold him into slavery to Egypt, right? Slavery has been prevalent in Africa for thousands of years.
But do you not think that that's offensive to somebody, to Black people that have, had a history in this? Like, for you to come out and say something like that, don't you think that it's a bit insensitive?
We need to Well, no, because we need to go beyond 400 years of fucked up history, skewed history, mistranslated history on purpose. I will go as far to say that the civil rights movement and the Holocaust were both psyops, made up, staged things to create a certain ideology and mind control over masses right now. And that Holocaust, that staged Holocaust that happened in World War II still is affecting America today. That civil rights movement, all that stuff is still affecting America today.
But wouldn't you say that Black people don't care about that, though, in the sense of like whether or not it was a psyop or not, it still affected them and it still caused them pain as a people?
Well, of course. Guess what? Guess how we heal from our trauma? You don't sit there and talk about it and cry on it and vibrate on that hurt and that pain. You go through it, you realize, and then you have to heal. And then you have to now take responsibility for your own projection instead of being a victim. Oh, well, white people are racist everywhere and I'm not going to be able to live a life of abundance and peace. And because people are racist. Well, that is now your personal reality that you are creating because they created a mass agenda to program the masses. But one person has the ability to create their own reality. So let go of that big agenda and singularly create and heal from your personal trauma. Because truly, I can't even, I know that I don't mean to like say it like this, but I know I don't have the audience to properly convey what I want to from a true higher consciousness standpoint right now. But just say this, if I can simplify it, we'll say, even me, I got sexually abused, right? Am I going to sit here and go out and be scared of men everywhere and peg every man as a fucking rapist and predator because I've been sexually abused several times? No, I'm not going to do that. If I can create that, I can continue to create that reality and vibrate on that frequency. But if I want to heal, then I have to take the responsibility and to change my vibration and my mentality. One, to not only forgive them, but forgive myself, forgive all of humanity as a whole, because we have all been living in trauma for thousands of years on this planet, and then move forward with my life, because everybody has the ability to create you have a 6 feet circumference of electromagnetic force field around you, your projection of your personal reality.
I get what you're saying, from Tina.
And
go ahead.
And now that I think about this, it's another psyop, another inception that he's creating, more divide, another compartment to create another class of people where you can control them easier.
I get what you're saying, Tina, but wouldn't you say, though, that there's more layers when you're talking about racism and oppression versus, being abused in a single instance?
No, it's all trauma. It's all pain. It's all hurt. You know what I mean? It's literally all the same thing. You're talking about
a singular instance of pain versus, a systematic situation of everywhere you're going, right?
I can strike up another Me Too movement and get hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of women all over the country that have been sexually abused, and we can do the same thing. Same thing. And then we can go bash men. You're all evil because you're all rapists. All of you. Same thing.
Okay, what about the FBA as a group, though? Wouldn't you say that is a strong movement for Black people to be moving forward and taking back what they believe is theirs?
Like Killer Mike and the 5%ers? No, it's not. It's more trauma and more toxicity. That's not actually healing. It's actually a trauma lifestyle, which is fine. It's your prerogative. You are welcome to live that way. And I'm not listen, I'm just...
Wait, how is it a toxic trauma lifestyle?
Because you're not forgiving and you're not healing.
Can you go into...
And forgiveness, forgiveness is not for the person, the people who harmed you. Forgiveness is actually for yourself. And truly, let's go to higher consciousness now. We live in a simulation. Nothing in here is actually real. We are all connected as one, right? And we are literally all here to play out a program and to rise above that program. We all have hurdles, right? I chose this avatar. I chose this body. I'm not going to have the same trauma. I'm not going to have the same hurdles as somebody else who chose a different male body in that avatar. He's going to go through different experiences than me. But at the energy, at the end of the day, it's all the same. You want to heal? Do you want to be mad and be racist for the rest of your life? You can do that. You know what I mean? But you're not going to really get anywhere. You're not going to ascend in consciousness by living like that. You're just coddling your trauma and feeding your hurt for the rest of your life instead of actually healing and forgiving. And then guess what? Where now you can show up for white people and you can love on them, even when they spit in your face.
I feel like people are really going to be upset and go crazy in the comments about this one.
Of course, they're definitely going to go crazy, Panda, for sure, because people aren't there yet, especially America. This country is being divided through racial means every day, when at the core of our being, we are all one. We are spirit. We are all fucking one.
I get some of what you're trying to get across, but do you think that it's coming across as a bit too insensitive towards other people's experiences?
Well, I can say the same about people being insensitive toward women being raped and abused, but I'm not sitting here crying about it.